Moment of silent prayer.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'll remain standing for a moment of silent prayer, and please remember Pete Murdoch and his wife as he passed recently. All right. The first item on the agenda are public comments, and people are allowed to give public comments. Give your name and your address, please, and you can discuss any issue that's actually on the agenda as well as speak to it now. So are there any public comments?
My name is Arloa Kaiser. I live at 1421 Melvin Street. And just my personal request would be for these runs that you're closing streets, that they are donating money to charity. I think it would be nice that the township know what charity, a specific charity that the money is going to. So they can't just say to a charity, so that doesn't mean that you know who it's going to.
Okay.
It would be just words, or could possibly just be words. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comment?
My name is Norman Andreessen. I live at 5742 Princeton Place in Ypsilanti. Since 2008, I have been representing the township on the Huron River Watershed Council. I came about during the last administration. I was recommended to do that when Jason Bibby left the employ of the township. I will be moving out of the township in next year, so somebody needs to replace me, and I would like you to find somebody who could attend the Huron River Watershed Council meetings. They're about 5 to 6 meetings a year.
Okay.
And we had a lot to contribute when we had the Ford Lake Commission,
Yeah.
but that was disbanded. But you should continue to support the Huron River Watershed Council. I don't know if you've, I don't think the news has been let yet, but Laura is leaving, so it's going to be a whole new administration, but the work of the council is very important, and I think the township should continue to support it financially, pay their dues, and have people be representing there so you know what's going on in the watershed.
All right.
So I've done it for 11 years, and somebody else, it's their time to do it.
Thank you for your service, Norm. And I agree, we need to continue. We appreciate everything that you've done for 11 years. Other comments?
Hello. I'm Joanne McCullum. I live at 1900 Tyler Road. I live in Ypsilanti Township. And I just want to say, Trustee Gerald Rowe, I felt offended earlier when you talked about the marijuana ordinance and people needing to be educated and, not come from a fear point in talking about this. I live this every day. I live in a predominantly African-American community. I'm African-American. We have struggles with marijuana, with drugs, with the teens. It's there. No matter how much education I get, it's not going to change that. I'm not going to cover my eyes and say, oh, everything's going to be okay, because I've been educated on this. The kids are still going to try and get a hold of this stuff. And in school, it's a mess. Your husband works in a school. I don't know if he tells you the stories about it, but that particular school, I had to call security because someone was smoking weed in the classroom. And in another school, a student even admitted she got it from a marijuana dispensary. There's just a lot of problems with this. But I would like to read this about an article I found. It says, don't open medical pot dispensaries near schools. It was a poll taken. It's in the U.S. News and World Report. It's closer to home than you think. It was done in February of this year. It says, while the vast majority of American parents support legal medical marijuana, they want pot dispensaries banned near schools or daycare centers, according to a new national survey. The C.S. Mott Children's Hospital, which is why it's closer to home, poll was conducted by the University of Michigan. Not only did 3/4 of parents support legalized marijuana for medicinal use, a third supported available to pediatric patients. And currently, medical marijuana is legal in about 2/3 of the state, but there's no consistent state or local framework for where dispensaries or their operations can be located. In the new polls, 70% of parents said they should have a say in how close dispensaries can be to schools and daycare centers. Nearly 45% said dispensaries should also be kept away from religious facilities, and 77% said pot dispensaries should be governed by the same location rules in place for liquor stores. Most parents seem to understand that marijuana can have legitimate medical benefits, but parents also have major concerns about the risk that medical marijuana dispensaries might pose to children. When it comes to where dispensaries are located, many parents feel that any area near children is too close for comfort. And where is that not at? Where there's no children. Children are everywhere. Such sentiments were widely shared among both fathers and across all ages and incomes. A big reason is why is concerned that adults who buy medical marijuana will end up driving high. Almost half of respondents said this was a significant worry. It's a fear. You should be afraid of someone driving high. That's reality. You don't want accidents to happen. You don't want that person to kill someone. You don't want that person to die. In addition, nearly half of respondents expressed concern that children might come across marijuana accidentally near a sales center. And I say, being around kids, they are curious and they see things and they just want to go after it. That's what kids do. That's life. We have to protect them. About half also worried that pot would be more accessible to their teens. It will be. No matter how you look at it, it's going to be more accessible to teens. On April 27th, we had Take Back Med Day, and one of the centers was in West Willow. People turned in, I think it was like 17 pounds of medication, mostly opiate. And the reason why they do that is because if it's in your house, if it's around those teens, they're gonna get to it. The same with marijuana. You put a dispensary around the corner. I know it's not gonna be in a neighborhood right in the house. Hopefully no one's growing it there, but it's going to be close enough for the teens. They're gonna see it, they're gonna want it, they're gonna be curious about it, they're gonna smell it. My goodness, they're gonna smell it. I don't like the smell of it either, but there it is. So about 35% feared crime might rise in surrounding neighborhoods. And to say, well, no, it probably won't be crime, everything's gonna be okay, I don't think so. Because if you start taking something that makes you feel good, because you feel depressed, because you feel down, because you're not doing good in school, and you're so frustrated, and you find something that makes you feel good, you're going to try and get it. It doesn't matter if you don't have a dime in your pocket, you're going to try and find a way. So to pretend or to think that they're not going to go after something illegally to get something that makes them feel good, in reality, we know that happens. That's life. I don't want medical marijuana dispensaries in Ypsilanti Township. I don't believe it would be good for the residents. According to the guidelines that I understand, the percentages of the revenue even, I don't care what you want to do to my neighborhood. If you want to help it out or whatever, I just don't want you there. That's what would help my neighborhood out, is if you don't move near my neighborhood. That's what will help me out. And it just doesn't make up the expenditures. I watch online the Lansing legislators talk about various aspects of this. There's all kind of layers. One is transportation, and that has to do with also the policing. And now they're talking about, okay, how can we afford, because they're anticipating there are going to be some problems. So they say, where is that money going to come from to police this particular area of the legal marijuana, where it's there? We can't ignore it. We've got to get more police officers. Where's the money going to come from? So it's just huge. If it's medical, then it should be gotten through a doctor. I don't see anything wrong with that. Like all medicine that can be regulated and dispensed with proper diagnosis. Everyone agrees that no matter what we do, the concern should be for the citizens. So you don't just want to throw something out there where someone is trying to get help with marijuana medically, and they get something tainted because things were not regulated well. So I do thank you all for doing that. And the high schools and the junior high have many problems, like I said. It's not a rumor that I've heard. It's an experience that I have almost every day that I go into a high school. There is some kid being caught with marijuana. Every place that has accepted the ordinance and did not opt out is having problems. Now, whether people are writing false stories and saying, they're having problems, I'm just writing a false story, I don't know. But I do know this. They're writing some good stories about it, yeah, it's good, and they're writing some stories that are not so good. I don't want us to take that chance and say, okay, maybe the good stories are going to fall on us and not the bad stories, like in Colorado, where they have such an increase in homelessness. They correlate that with opening up marijuana dispensaries. They don't know if people just started flooding there because homeless people can't afford to buy marijuana. I mean, if they can, it's not on a consistent basis because they don't have consistent income. So they have not found out exactly what's happening there, but that's disturbing nonetheless. So it's just, and to hear about the black market, it doesn't decrease sales of the black market. It causes, because the black market is always going to be cheaper than the dispensaries. So can't say, well, we put a dispensary up, then people will stop spending $10 and will want to come and spend $30 here, right? No, we know that's not true. So we already have a problem in Ypsilanti Township with marijuana and teens. It's already there. We don't need to add to it. So I just want to thank you for at least, I know you have to respect the law. I know that. But I just want to thank you for giving yourself time to look at this and do it the best way possible to protect our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
No. We don't respond. I'm sorry.
Joanne, I would love to talk to you after the meeting, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. And I should have said that all comments should be addressed to me, so I forgot to say that. Okay. Are there any other public comments? It's also on the agenda. Just
Hello, I'm Jeffrey Tate at 6010 Whitaker Road. When I went to high school, marijuana was not prevalent because it was the 60s. I was appalled when I would find out how young people would start smoking marijuana, and I don't condone it. The last hash bash I attended was 1990. I went in a suit and an overcoat, and I don't know, I was wearing it for another reason, but I attended and I spoke to some 16-year-olds who told me they smoked a whole ounce the night before. And I said, well, that's kind of wasteful because you don't need that much. But even at that, at your age, you shouldn't even be doing it. Now, as far as medical marijuana facilities are concerned, they're highly regulated. And as I had stated before, they're going to get it on the streets. It's been on the streets forever. Now, and I don't condone putting it near churches, but I can't understand the correlation of having it even near a religious facility because it's not something that's sinful. But as far as high schools, you don't put it near high schools. And as far as smelling it, people don't smoke medical marijuana in the facilities. So perhaps when we vote on issues like this, people should jot their age down next to their vote, because we have no idea of what the breakdown of voters is in this township. You know, it was approved by the voters. So I know a lot of young people were probably out there voting for it, but there are older people that have used it for years to deal with pain. I was injured in a few auto accidents in early 70s, late 72. I was given opioids. I didn't like it because what it would do is mask the pain to the point where you felt real good and you would injure yourself worse. So as far as marijuana is concerned, you still feel the pain, but you can deal with it. And I don't like any kind of pills that are manufactured. Thank you.
thank you. Are there any other public?
My name is Robert Harrison. I live 812 DeSoto, West Willow, Ypsilanti Township. I would just like to say that marijuana is what marijuana is, but if we could call it medical marijuana, the state has passed a law that you can get it. It's not good for our children because someone's going to buy it and give it to the children. I go by the marijuana junks all the time, and I know that people pool their money. People who need it can't buy it, but they have people to buy it so they can get it. So we're going to have a problem with this down the road, and I'm not a prophet that I could perceive, but we know what's done happened before in the past, even now with alcohol. If they can't get it, they're going to steal somebody's stuff in where they can get it because they don't want to work to go get it. They want to have the easy way out. And if I could keep it out of my neighborhood, I will. And I'm going to do everything that I can to keep it out of my neighborhood. I want to see my neighborhood flourish and grow, not be stunted like it was in the past. And we know about what West Willow have been. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen again, but I want to stop it if it's possible before it does happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
Yes, Tyrone Bridges, 264 Oregon Street. Speaking about the medical marijuana ordinance, the ban. Just thinking of the recent election, it's 68%, I roughly believe, that according to MLive, stated that Washtenaw County residents supported it. So as a resident and as a voter, I would think that we would be siding on or with the voters with options of regulations within the townships instead of the ban. Because if you think about it, if we're talking about what's being done with our kid, yesterday, that 15-year-old child got killed. Didn't happen at a medical marijuana dispensary. It happened at a liquor store in broad open daylight at 1 o'clock. So if we want to talk about our kids, and yes, I volunteered in the ACE program over there on E-Course, and I know how out of control they are. I used to run programs for at-risk youth. My program needs to be on steroids to work with these kids in these schools. A lot of times, we speak out of ignorance as to how these kids get in this medical marijuana. Believe it or not, since the medical marijuana dispensaries were allowed to open, the black market on the street went up 1,000%. What I'm worried about is this. If we're banning the dispensaries that are regulated by the state, and we got these little corner stores, these little corner gas stations that's selling this synthetic marijuana that they're giving to these kids before they go to school. Before they go to school. I done my research too. I was behind helping closing down Brandy's. As far as the drug-free zone, we have protection for drug dealers in our school districts or near our churches, the drug-free zone. Razik knows about it. It's on the state books. It's a law. You can't be in possession of any drugs within a certain feet of school. I was behind pushing that effort and getting the signage put up throughout Washtenaw County schools back in 1995. So I know what I'm speaking about this here. I'm just looking at the proactive measures that you can do with this. If you had an option, just thinking out of the box, if you allowed some residents with land to grow medical marijuana that's regulated, and if they're minority, that would help their income tremendously. We need to think out of the box and not just say, oh, medical marijuana. Medical marijuana does great benefits to people. It has benefits. I'm not going to speak about the medical benefits because you know it. But think out the box. Don't just say ban it. You got 68% and above people are supporting this percentage in the county. Think about it. Because if something happens big with this medical marijuana industry, just like the automation, you don't want to miss out on it. You wouldn't want to miss out on it, banning it. I think it would be a bad idea. You don't have to listen to me. Your voters spoke. I'm just a percentage.
Thank you. Are there other comments? This will also be on the agenda, so you can talk then as well.
Hello, Denise Kirchhoff, 6298 Maplehurst. Just a couple of things. I think you guys need to realize one thing. You were elected to do a job. I don't really personally care what your personal beliefs are, because whether I believe in medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, you're elected to do, I will quote Kamala Harris, vote. The voters have spoken, do your job. Now, I don't know why you guys weren't able to do this, but I was part of a group that was actually able to talk to a coalition from Colorado and Seattle. They were here, and it was actually their zoning commission. I was actually sent them an email. Next time you're around, you know what? Like to know how you planned this, how you did that. And sent me an email back, hey, this is when we're going to be here. We'll lay it out for you. We'll show you the road we took. So and everybody says, well, we're not ready. We're not ready. I'm just a citizen. And I was able to get into a meeting with the zoning director of the state of Colorado when he came here, when he gave examples of small communities like ours. And everybody's like, well, we're not ready. We haven't decided. The same thing with Seattle. And one of the things I also discussed with him was like what you talked about, the homeless population. The homeless population in Colorado actually increased because home values went up, because there was really no moratorium on how much people could charge and rent. I mean, because people were moving there because the jobs were actually paying really good money, and the fact that they had daycare centers that were open 24/7. People were working more people were having to come off of their welfare rolls, which actually dropped 75%. So that explains the homeless. I don't know. I don't think I've seen that movie. From what I hear, I saw a movie a long time ago called Reefer Madness, and that's all I'm hearing is about that. And I'm like, is this real? Is this seriously real? And I think we need to give our kids a lot more credit for no matter what, whether it's legal or whether it's not legal, there's always going to be that kid who will smoke, who will drink, and who will do bad things. You cannot say, because we have this, every kid in Washtenaw County is going to be stealing, and they're going to get an adult to buy the marijuana. I'm sorry, that's just ignorant. That's grouping, including my child, and a lot of kids that have been raised who don't think it's okay to smoke weed if they're underage, who don't think it's okay to drive drunk when they're underage. Because if you look at the statistics in Washtenaw County, when was the last time somebody was actually killed behind the wheel of a car when an underage teen driver from marijuana high? I would really like to know those statistics, but I know I can go and find those out. Whether I agree with recreational marijuana does not matter. There is one thing that does matter. When a person in this country votes and they make a decision, you have no right to say, you know what, we know what's best for you. Because I think everybody needs to realize we have reached a point in this country where we are seeing that in the White House, whether it's in the White House or Washtenaw County or Monroe or Detroit. When a voter speaks, a voter wants to be heard. And this is not a threat, but there is a repercussion for not listening to people who vote, because there is a massive movement. People are tired of it. Don't tell me, well, I know, pat me on my head, I know what's best for you. No, I went to the ballot box and did what I thought was best for my community. And I think there's a solid message coming across the entire United States. Do what your community asks. That's just it. Whether you agree with it or not, if it's legal and it's on the books, do what your community asks. Do your job.
Are there any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to the agenda. No, oh, he's going to go again.
Yes, I'd like to add to what I said earlier.
Well, we're going to also have it on the agenda under another item, just so people know in case, but some people might have to leave, so go ahead.
I have a nice clearing in my woods behind the house, and when I'm out there in the afternoon, I need to come in around 4 in the afternoon, because at that time, cars start lining up at the light beyond where the creek crosses Textile, and all I smell nonstop is cigarette smoke. And I am it's not even a matter of allergic, but when we moved here to Michigan in '53, I contracted pneumonia, and so cigarettes really bother me. Now, we're here to talk about recreational facilities, not medical marijuana facilities.
I know that, yeah.
If they choose to sell marijuana recreationally in a party store that sells alcohol, maybe that shouldn't be near a community if the marijuana is there, but that's a moot point. The alcohol has been a real problem in this society. Young people smoking cigarettes has been a major issue. I mean, I talk to young people about smoking cigarettes, and when they say, oh, I'm going to be vaping, I tell them, no, it's still nicotine and it's highly addictive. And I said, why should you be giving a bunch of old, wealthy men money from profits on tobacco when they don't care for you? At the expense of your own health, you're making them wealthier. So I talk to young people, and they kind of think about it and realize, you know, I've got something there.
Thank you.
Save your money, kids. Don't buy cigarettes at all.
Thank you. Number 4 is the consent agenda. We have the minutes of the work session as amended, closed session, and regular meeting, statements and checks.
Support.
Motion Rose, support Doe. Are there questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5 is the general legal update. Mr. Winters, I know you gave one in the work session.
Yes, I gave a very detailed one in the work session. At this point, unless there were follow-up questions to what I spoke earlier, I would just simply reserve any further comments or reports in regards to the next agenda item. I'm sorry?
Larry was pointing something out to me. But refer all your comments. What was that?
I was just saying I would just reserve my
Comment?
attorney comments for the next agenda item.
Okay. All right. Very good. I apologize. The proclamation is something that we do every year. We put it in the packet, but we don't. We can vote on it. But we don't have to. We don't normally vote on it. We include it in the packet and approve it. No, that's okay. All right. Under old business, number 1 is the second reading of Resolution 2019-20, proposed ordinance 2019-484, prohibition of recreational marijuana establishment. The first reading was held at the April 2nd, 2019 regular meeting. Clerk Rowe.
I have Resolution 2019-20 in reference to ordinance number 2019-484. This is the second reading of the resolution ordinance, the prohibition of recreational marijuana establishments. Whereas in November of 2018, Michigan voters approved the legalization of recreational marijuana, hereinafter referred to as the 2018 Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act. And whereas prior to the approval of the 2018 Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, Michigan voters and the Michigan legislature approved 2 separate independent statutes which govern medical marijuana only, to wit, the Michigan Marijuana Act, initiated Law 1 of 2008, legalizing medical marijuana, and the Michigan Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act of 2016. And whereas proposed ordinance number 2019-484, entitled Prohibition of Recreational Marijuana Establishment, applies only to commercial recreational marijuana businesses authorized by the 2018 Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act. And whereas the proposed township ordinance 2019-484 does not affect medical marijuana patients' rights or medical marijuana caregivers' rights under the 2008 Medical Marijuana Ballot Initiative, including an individual medical marijuana patient's right to grow up to 12 marijuana plants for personal use, or medical marijuana caregivers' right to grow up to 72 plants for their patients and themselves. Whereas the focal point of proposed ordinance 2019-484 concerns potential recreational marijuana businesses that could be located within the boundaries of the Charter Township, Ypsilanti. And whereas under the 2018 Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, a recreational marijuana business includes a number of different types of commercial enterprises, which are as follows. Number 1, recreational marijuana growers and sellers of up to 2,000 marijuana plants. Recreational marijuana safety compliance facilities, defined as testing facilities for potency and presence of contaminants. 3, recreational marijuana processors, preparation of marijuana plants by compounding, blending, extracting, and infusing marijuana. 4, recreational marijuana micro businesses, cultivates, processes, and packages up to 150 marijuana plants. And 5, the recreational marijuana retailer, which is the retail sale of marijuana. And 6, the recreational marijuana transporters, which is transports marijuana to and from other marijuana establishments. And whereas under the 2018 Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, LARA, is responsible for adopting rules and regulations applicable to commercial recreational marijuana businesses, and whereas LARA's initial meeting regarding the drafting of rules and regulations to govern recreational marijuana businesses pursuant to the 2018 Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act was scheduled to convene during the week of March 25th, 2019, and whereas under Governor Gretchen Whitmer's recent executive order, a new state agency is expected to oversee the licensing of recreational marijuana businesses pursuant to the 2018 Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act. Once the governing the rules and regulations have been properly promulgated and approved as required by the Act, and whereas municipalities have the right under the 2018 Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act to decide whether commercial recreational marijuana businesses are permitted within their communities, and if they are permitted, the type of businesses so allowed, the zoning districts in which said businesses would be permitted, as well as the enactment of other local regulations and requirements that would be deemed to be in the best interest of the community. And whereas before the Ypsilanti Township Board of Trustees can consider the salient issues of whether commercial recreational marijuana businesses are in the best interest of the township, and if so, the types of businesses that they may be suited to the township based upon the zoning districts for such businesses, and whether the local regulations or requirements should be adopted, the township board needs to fully apprise prior thereto of all the rules and regulations that were promulgated and adopted by LARA governing commercial recreational marijuana businesses pursuant to the 2018 Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act. And whereas pursuant to the 2018 Michigan Regulation and Taxation of the Marijuana Act, if the township does not adopt an ordinance prohibiting the commercial recreational marijuana businesses, any commercial recreational marijuana businesses licensed by the state is automatically allowed to operate within Ypsilanti Township. And whereas in order to avoid a situation where commercial recreation business is licensed by the state to operate within the township, before the township board has carefully considered whether to allow the businesses to operate within the township board hereby determines it's in the best interest of the township to maintain the status quo until the state of Michigan, by and through LARA, adopts the required rules and regulations applicable to commercial recreational marijuana businesses so as to allow the township board an opportunity to carefully review the same. Now, therefore, be it resolved that ordinance number 2019-484, prohibiting recreational marijuana establishments, businesses within Ypsilanti Township as set forth in the 2018 Michigan Regulations and Taxation of Marijuana Act is hereby adopted by reference. And just for the record, the ordinance has been changed from the first reading, and added to the second reading is the statement at the end under section 6, the effective date. The ordinance shall become effective upon publication in newspaper of general circulation as required by law. This ordinance shall cease effect on June 30th, 2020. That's the part that's new. This ordinance shall cease effect on June 30th, 2020. I would so move approval of the resolution and the second reading as the ordinance as amended, as I pointed out.
Motion Rose, support Ross Williams. Discussion?
Madam Chair, I just want to, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just want to make
Wilson?
a couple comments. First to the board, just kind of what Trustee Rowe mentioned earlier on how Grand Rapids is, taking a progressive step to already try to get an ordinance in place where they try to have companies or businesses that are coming in to bring some kind of showing some kind of equity or benefit to the community when they try to establish these businesses. And that's something that is progressive that we should have thought of. And I am 1/7 of this board, so I'm talking to myself as well, that we have to be more progressive. Second comment I wanted to make, to those that are in favor of the of recreational marijuana in general, just keep in mind that there is more than just the retail sale, more than just dispensaries. You have growers, transporters, safety compliance, processors. So when showing support, it's just not about the dispensaries. I know that plenty of voters who voted in favor of this proposal for more than just the dispensaries, including myself, who voted in favor of the proposal for the criminal justice reform aspect of the proposal, because communities like this that have been affected a lot over the years from the illegal possession and some of the petty crimes. Also, third comment I want to make, for those that are against recreational marijuana, just to put it in perspective, medical marijuana, think of it as your CVS, where you go and give a prescription to your pharmacist. And think of recreational as your over-the-counter medicine. Try to just be more open-minded when thinking about those two, because it has a medicinal benefit, whether it is under the medical marijuana law or the recreational marijuana law. Just keep in mind that there's been a lot of science that there's a benefit to both. Final thought is just the financial benefits. I know a lot of voters that voted in favor of it not to consume it at all, and possibly not even to have retail sales. But they knew that there was financial benefits from all the other businesses that could partake in this law. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Trustee Eldridge.
I just want to say a couple things because I've been fairly silent on this. This, to me, has nothing to do with whether this is marijuana or any other business. Sitting on the Planning Commission for 14 years, we regulate every type of business. We zone every type of business, whether it's restaurants, liquor stores, daycare centers. We have zoning requirements for everything. For somebody simply to imply that I'm for or against a particular issue simply because I'm asking it to be zoned like every other business in the township, they're mistaken, whichever side of the fence they sit on. I haven't made a decision either way. All I'm voting for is an ordinance that says we're going to zone this type of business like we zone every other type of business. And if anybody reads anything else into that, whether it's me or any board member, I think you're mistaken. We are doing our due diligence. We are being fiduciaries in doing the job we were elected to do by taking our time to make sure that we zone this correctly, just like the state is doing in Lansing at their level. So any implication otherwise is absolutely incorrect, at least as it relates to this 1/7 of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Eldridge. Other comments?
Is this on? Yes, it is. Okay. I want to go back again. I know this was read in work session, so I'm going to go back and read it again. And this was basically before the State of Michigan Advice and Consent Committee. That was on May 2nd, 2019. Andrew Brizzo, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his last name correct, is the Executive Director of the Michigan Marijuana Regulatory Agency. And this is the quotes from the article. So State Senator Kim LaRaza of St. Joseph said that there is a town in her district where prospective recreational marijuana businesses are considering locating, but they don't have a list of what the rules and regulations will be. She asks, is that something you have now? He said, we are working on the first draft of the rules. The statute passed in 2018 went into effect on December 6th. We have a year to take those applications for the facilities. Our intention is to release the first set of emergency rules around June and start taking applications about 3 months after that. The purpose for the delay and the advance notice is that we want to make sure communities have time to determine their approaches to their ordinances, which is where I want to kind of go back into what was voted on. I actually agree with Trustee Eldridge. In the third part of the proposal, because I could read the whole thing and I actually won't, but I will read this. It says this proposal would create a state licensing system for marijuana businesses and allow municipalities to ban or restrict them. Restrict is zoning. That is basically what restricts means. The Michigan Zoning Enabling Act of 2006, Act 110, actually allows for townships, villages, cities to zone. That is the point of that act. And last but not least, I have heard over and over again how basically this is like alcohol. I could go on in regards to how alcohol actually works in the state of Michigan because I have all the notes. But in the same aspect, what I will say is the following. Alcohol, basically, prohibition actually ended on the federal level on December 5th, 1933. That was in the case of Granholm versus Harrow. The case examined the state's rights, power under the 21st Amendment of the Constitution to control direct-to-consumer wine shipments from out-of-state wine cellars. Then you have to go forward to the Act of 1819, which is basically, that was about Michigan territory laws. Then in 1825, basically that was about the largest city of Detroit being able to find a local ordinance as it relates to governing liquor sales. Then you have to move to the Act of 1835, which is basically talked about the vast reaction to the growth of the tavern industry. And, you know, I mean, it just goes on until you get to basically that in 1998, which is actually, you know, kind of like many years later, in Act 58, about basically the state of Michigan controlled, at that point in time, they created the Liquor Control Commission, and also basically local ordinances that went along with Act 58 of 1998. Marijuana has been legal since December 6th of 2018. If I have it correct, what this ordinance is asking is to go to June 30th of 2020 in order to see how we would zone this in our communities. I believe, and I strongly believe, if it took years to get alcohol right, I think we can get this right in a year. And I think the year is needed for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? So we have are there any public comment? Anyone?
Hello, my name is Joanne McCullum. Hello again. Joanne McCullum. I live at 1900 Tyler Road. I am in Ypsilanti Township. And I want to say that as a resident of Ypsilanti Township, I'm also a citizen of the United States. I have a voice. I just don't believe this is good for our community, the dispensaries. And I just want to say, Supervisor Stumbo, that, you know, earlier someone mentioned that, you know, not directly to me, but that people need to be educated. That wasn't so bad saying that as opposed to what I've heard lately. But it's just, we have our opinions. We're Americans. This is the place to talk about them. If you don't agree with something, I don't care how many people voted, because I do remember someone being voted into office, and a lot of people are regretting they made that vote. Not going to mention any names, but it was a mistake. Sometimes we make mistakes. We're human. And this is a place where we can, the platform where we can say, you know what? We think this should be carefully regulated. And I really appreciate you all for doing that, because you're going to do it in a way where it's going to be the best interest of the community, and I really appreciate that. I thank you. No matter what people are saying to you, you're saying, you know what, I know you're saying that, but we really want to do the best thing for our citizens. So I appreciate that. And I feel a lot better that you are doing it that way, because I think we have a better chance of it being safe for the communities. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Just want to give people
My name is Arloa Kaiser. I live at 1421 Melvin Street, and I wanted to thank the board for looking into every avenue. You're never going to please everyone. There's no way. But you have looked in depth at many, many different ways and what's available, how to handle it, and try and get ahead of the state so that you can regulate what we do here. It is the kids that we're trying to protect. The older people, a lot of them don't care. Some of them just want the marijuana for the high, just like alcohol, the high. Well, my understanding is that there's marijuana that the high part of it has been taken out, and CBG or something like that, I'm not really sure what the initials are, that you do not get a high from it, and a lot of patients are using it for pain. And now you know that people who are in pain can't get the opioids and that to help them. And a lot of times Tylenol and the NSAIDs don't work. But I do appreciate what you have done and the amount of time that you have spent on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Clerk Rowe, you wanted to?
Yeah, I just want to say there's not necessarily here, but I know there's been a lot of things that's been thrown out there, and one of the things that's been thrown in is the people that voted no were uneducated, and I don't believe that's the case. People have their own sets, as I think Joanne McCollum so nicely put it. Everybody has their own value system, and how and why they voted. Trustee Wilson shared with us openly, was the criminal, the issue for him. So I think for us to be judgmental about how people voted and why they voted is something, that's not a path that I'm wanting to go down to. People have also said on a program yesterday that was on Facebook that the board was uneducated about the whole, well, they did say that. And I just want to say that I'm uneducated about a lot of stuff, and I'm not even going to begin to say that I know, and I don't think any of us are saying that we know everything. One thing we know for sure is we don't know how the state's going to regulate it. That we do know. So I think I don't think that helps the discussion, and I think, again, Joanne McCollum said it so nicely, it's America, and that this is a place that it shouldn't be about names or labels or threats. That to get it right, we have, as 7 board members, we're the ones that's going to decide, exactly how it's going to go. But we're also going to listen, and we're listening to our residents and listening to those. Attorney Winters, which I'm sure will let us share with us, he shared a lot of information when he was at a meeting where basically most of the people there were in the business of the marijuana business. And that a lot of things that he learned there. And then even more has come out. One of the things he found there is come out more recently is that this whole fast track of getting this done by June 1st, which to me makes it more. Reading the actual law I think is really important. And if you haven't done that, you really need to read the act, because there's a lot of stuff in the act that says, frankly, it just says in there that if we can either opt out, which is what the board's going to do with the sunset clause. At least that's what's in front of us. I don't know whether the majority of votes will be there. But you can either do that or you do nothing. And the law just says when the application goes in, whether it's the growing application or everybody's focused on retail. But frankly, I think there's a lot more things that Stan talked about and zoning-wise that needs to be handled. Not so much from retail. We all know what that's like. They got them all down in Depot Town, and they got the one there, I-94, which, well, I won't say what I think about that. But anyways, the retail is probably the least of things that we need to worry about from the zoning end. It's the huge manufacturing operations that probably have the most impact on the community. A trucking operation, we turn down all the time. Trucking is a huge issue right now. Because of the way that we're getting goods. People want to just take a piece of property in the township and they want to just park a bunch of trucks there and just run in and out. And we as a board have decided, and as with our zoning ordinances that we've enforced, that say you have to, you can't just have a piece of land. Some of them have actually come in and they've opened up businesses without us knowing on empty pieces of dirt and just parked, 200 trucks, leaking oil, nothing up. And so, but we have an ordinance that says, no, you can't do that. And so then we issue our NOVs, violations. Sometimes they comply, sometimes they don't, and then we hire our attorneys, or we bring it to the board and authorize them to go to court. That's just on, those kinds of businesses. We're going to have those same issues on the marijuana businesses, and that's why it's so important. And I thank you, Stan, Trustee Eldridge, for bringing that up, is that over the years, Brenda and I, some have been around here probably the longest, we got woodlands ordinances, say you can't cut trees anymore. Remember what a big fight it was? I mean, it was a huge, you wouldn't think, but the 7-member board actually even fought on it because the businesses wanted to make money, which means cut down more trees, cut down more trees. And the other people said, no, we want to protect the environment. We passed ordinances that said, no, you had to stop building residential in Ypsilanti Township. That was huge. I don't know if anyone's ever done that since or before. We put a moratorium on building in Ypsilanti Township. And we did that because our traffic could not handle it, and to protect our residents who are here. And all those wonderful people who now have moved in on the south side of the township have a wonderful intersections. I know Ms. Kaiser hates them. We didn't approve the roundabouts. The road commission did that. But we have that $1 million traffic operations on Whitaker and Textile, all those areas which only had stop signs before. So I love it here. I was born here. I plan on dying here. I mean, I might take a few months a year and go somewhere warm a few weeks. All my kids live here, my grandkids, and so I'm proud of the work that we've done over the years, and it'll be 30 years for Brenda and I. Is it this year or last year, Brenny? I got beat, I was out 2 years, 88. So it was last year. It was 30 years for Brenda consecutive. I was gone for 2 years. But anyways, and I think that with all the board members here, I think the people have, and whether we fight and disagree, I can honestly say that every single one of these board members has the true passion and heart of our residents. We're not just, and that's what we're about. You don't serve without having the attitude of wanting to make a difference and wanting to make a change, My mama instilled it in me, walking up and down the streets of Holmes Road and Hunter Avenue, which back then they built their houses, they didn't have nothing but street, and getting the petitions, taxing themselves to get a road, a sidewalk, and instilling that value of just caring and helping our brothers and sisters. And I think most of you in the audience feel the same way too. And I respect every single one of you for your opinions. And we got a long road to go. We got a year to put this together, and we're committed to getting more educated and hopefully, all of us together getting educated on what it is that's wonderful about the Recreation Act, that other communities there, and all the things that we really need to watch out for and make sure that we zone and protect our our residents, because that's our job. We only exist. It's the first thing under our preamble that's created by the state constitution is the health and safety and welfare. That's the only reason that we exist legally as a township board. And I know I rambled on, and I apologize for taking so long. Thank you, board members, for putting up with me all these years.
Thank you, Clerk Rowe.
Can I speak?
Sure.
My name is Christina Reeves. I live at 1255 Laurie Street. And you're going to make your decision, but as you go further, I'd like you to take in consideration that when you do allow recreation businesses and whatnot, I would like you to take into consideration people who have ties, or not even ties, township members, people who actually live in the township, and the amount of minorities that you allow. And when I say ties, I don't mean because you own that liquor store over there that in our community, but you don't live in our community. So I think you need a percentage of residents that can have an opportunity to get in on that business, and minorities, because that's a plus. That's a must. And that's my comment.
Thank you. All right. We have a,
Sorry, Madam Chair, just one more comment. Thank you, trustee, I'm sorry, Clerk Rowe, and also trustee Wilson about his comments and what he said. It bothers me when anyone calls voters, no matter where you voted on this issue, ignorant. There is no such thing as an ignorant voter. That was also in that video. And I firmly do not believe that. And I don't want to speak for the rest of the board, but I'm assuming they don't. It's not fair to call any voter who voted whatever way on this subject ignorant, and that is just not acceptable to me. And I wanted to make sure I made that comment.
all right. We have a motion and support to approve the second reading of the ordinance. We have to do a roll call vote because this is a law.
I need to read these things. I'm so sorry. There were a few emails I got. First of all, there was a petition that was submitted by a resident that lives in the Oakland Hawthorne neighborhood, gathered over 50 signatures from their friends and neighbors, all in Ypsilanti Township, that were in support of opting out and in support of the recreational marijuana opt-out ordinance. So I wanted to say that. Nicole Van Barkiam, I think some of the board members, I tried to share everything with the board members, just said that she was for us, she was against opting out, and set up several other things, basically against opting out, which, like I said, I shared that. I will actually put her exact email in the record. And then I had a phone call for Ryan McGriff, who was against opting out totally, but supported the issues of getting the right zoning in place. That was it. This is since the last reading. Sorry.
Thank you. So we have a motion and support. We'll do a roll call vote. Joe Rowe?
Yes.
Eldridge?
Yes.
Ross Williams?
Yes.
Rowe?
Yes.
Stumbo votes yes. Doe?
Yes.
Wilson?
No.
It's a 6-1 vote. Wilson voting no. It passes. Under new business, number 1, we have the first reading resolution 2019-06, proposed ordinance 2019-486, an ordinance amending Article 27 of the zoning ordinance to add the conditional rezoning text amendments. Clerk Rowe?
Get myself organized. I have a resolution for number 2019-06 in reference to ordinance number 2019-486, amending Article 27 of the zoning ordinance to add the conditional rezoning text amendment. Whereas Section 3405 of the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, Public Act 110 of 2006 as amended, authorizes a property owner or their authorized representative to voluntarily offer conditions to the rezoning of their property as a means to provide a voluntary mechanism for an applicant to self-limit their request. And whereas the township planning consultants recommend updates to the zoning ordinance to specify the process and circumstances for conditional rezonings under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. And whereas the township planning consultants have recommended amendments to the Charter Township Ypsilanti's Planning Commission to the township zoning code, and whereas its regularly scheduled meeting held on April 9, 2019, the commission recommended approval of the planning consultant's proposed amendments to the township zoning code to the township board to update Article 27, changes and amendments to specify the process and circumstances for conditional rezonings. Whereas proposed ordinance number 2019-486 has revised the current existing ordinance in such a fashion as to incorporate the above changes recommended. And whereas the Charter Township Ypsilanti Board of Trustees agrees with the request of the Planning Commission. Now therefore be it resolved that the Charter Township Ypsilanti Board of Trustees does hereby approve ordinance number 2019-486 as attached by amending Article 27 of this Township Zoning Code as noted, replacing it with proposed, whoops, sorry about that. Golly, if I could, thank you. Fingers don't work as they used to. As attached by amending Article 27 of the Township Zoning Code as noted, replacing it with proposed ordinance number 2019-486, which ordinance reflects the suggestions and input of the Township's planning consultant as recommended by the Commission. I would so move Resolution 2019-06 in reference to the first reading of ordinance number 2019-486.
Support.
A motion by Rowe, support by Wilson to approve the first reading of this ordinance. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I have to do roll call. Roll call?
Yes.
Gerald Rowe, Eldridge,
Yes.
Ross Williams.
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Stumble vote yes, Doe.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
The ordinance passes unanimously. Number, what? Are you asking?
No, I got it.
Number 2 is the request of Lightspeed Communications LLC to assign and transfer their Metro Act permit to Metro FiberNet LLC.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe. Is there there's no representative here. Mr. Winters, the only thing I was wondering is on the certificate of insurance. Have you reviewed it?
I reviewed it. I think, Denny, you also reviewed it, so I believe it was improper.
Okay. Just looks weird. Okay. I would prefer in the future that they come to the meetings, but maybe we can put in the letter to make sure that they restore the areas as Trustee Rowe pointed out in section 4.3. Help us make, I'm not accusing them of doing it, I'm not sure who did it, but that would be helpful to our residents if they would restore it. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3 is a request to approve second agreement with Washtenaw County Road Commission for local road maintenance and improvements in the amount of $304,356.93 to be budgeted in line item 101-446-000-A18-022, contingent upon the approval of a budget amendment.
Move to approve.
Support.
Motion Doe, support Ross Williams. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 4 is a request of Mike Radzik, OCS Director, for authorization to seek legal action if necessary to abate the public nuisance for property located at 1594 Andrea Street and 1499 Grove Road in the amount of $20,000, which is budgeted in line item 101-950-000-801-023.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Wilson. Questions or comment? We discussed this at length in the work session. Thank you, OCS staff and residents, for reporting these and helping to stabilize our neighborhoods by holding them accountable. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is a request of Mike Radzik, OCS Director, for authorization to seek legal action to abate public nuisance drug houses by padlocking located at 5900 Bridge Road, apartment 408 and 418 Villa Drive in the amount of $20,000, budget line item 101-950-000-801-023.
Move to approve.
Motion Ross Williams, support Gerald Rowe. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6 is a request to adopt a recommended native plant species list for the bees.
So moved.
Motion Rowe, support Gerald Rowe for adopting this species list and sharing it on our website. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 7 is Resolution 2019-21, which is a temporary road closure request for Overrun 5K on June 21st.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Gerald Rowe. Question? The petitioner's not here. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8 is Resolution 2019-22, which is another temporary road closure for the request for Run, Scream, Run 5K, 10K, and Kids Mile Run on October 12th, 2019.
Move to approve.
Motion Doe, support Gerald Rowe.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just if we could, this is the one that just says it benefits a local charity, just if we could ask what charity they're
Yeah. That's a
giving
good
their money
point.
to.
All right, we will get that information and report it back at the board meeting, the next board meeting. We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9 is request to approve the amendment to the Washtenaw County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Environmental Assessment Grant. It's an agreement dated February 19, 2019, CR 51312 for 1150 Midway for the skate park.
So move.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe. Discussion? I really do want to thank Attorney Winters and Treasurer Doe for attending the meeting and going an extra step to make sure that we're protecting and doing additional testing and the removal of that slab. I think that's wise in the best interest of the skaters and the kids and everyone else. So I appreciate that effort, and I really appreciate them paying for it. We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Budget amendment.
I have a motion to amend the 2019 budget. It's the number 8 amendment. Move to increase the general fund by $304,357, and that's for the road contracts we approved earlier, to $10,038,146, and approve the line item changes as outlined, and to increase the motor pool fund by $20,745. That's for a truck that's later on the agenda, to $284,642, and approve the line item changes as outlined. I so move the amendment.
Support.
Motion Rowe, support Doe. Are there questions or comments on the budget amendment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under authorization and bids, we have the request of Mike Sterin, our hydro operations, for approval to waive the financial policy and purchase a new Ram 1500 pickup from Van Dyke Dodge Ram in the amount of $20,754 to be budgeted line item 595-595-000-985-000, contingent on approval of the budget amendment, which we already voted on.
So move.
Support.
There's a motion and support. This is a My Deal, which the township opted to get quotes from them, and there are actually 6 quotes. Like, we're not waiving the financial policy, just to waive it, we're waiving it. And he still got 6 quotes, so I just wanted that to be on the record. We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Motion Doe, support Gerald Rowe. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned 8:12 p.m.